Hey chess enthusiasts! Today I've got something exciting to share with you. I've discovered a super powerful chess opening trap called the Ponziani opening. In this video, instead of a full chess match, I'll be focusing specifically on this trap and how it can catch your opponents off guard. Let's dive in and explore this intriguing tactic together. So we start with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and here we go for c3. This is the Ponziani opening. The idea for white is to grab the center after pushing d4. Some of the most popular moves you will see from black are knight to f6, pawn to d5 or bishop to c5. Let's go over them one by one. First, let's look at knight to f6, with which black is challenging the center pawn. We continue with pawn to d4, and now black has three options. He can take on e4, or he can capture on d4, or he can even try to defend this pawn with something like d6. If he captures with the knight, then we push this pawn forward. He can't go to b4 because after b4, the knight is forced to go back to b8, which is just a waste of a move. So more often than not, you will see him going to e7. Now we regain our pawn and we reach this kind of a unique position where all these three knights are lined up just like this. In this position, what would you play as black? Just think about it. I guess many of you are concerned about this knight in the center, so a very natural move that comes to our mind is d6, defending the knight and opening up this diagonal for the bishop. As per the database, around 80% of the players play d6 in this position, and if your opponent also plays this, then he can pack his bags and go home, because this is not going to last long. We start with bishop b5 check. No matter how he blocks, we will finish him off. If bishop p7, then takes and his queen is gone, so white is clearly winning. Going back, a logical move is to block with c6. We take the pawn, and now if he captures our knight, then after a forced move sequence like this, we first get the rook, then we take the bishop, and ultimately, we take the queen as well. And as you can see, we are completely winning it from here. Alright, going back, in this position, instead of taking the knight, if he takes this pawn, then we take with the knight, captures. It's a three-way fork now, and finally, we pick up this knight as well, and now, as you can see, white is leading by a full knight and a pawn. So again, we are completely dominating this game. By the way, in this position, after we take with the knight, black can try to be a little cheeky with a move like queen b6, attacking the bishop and also trying to mate on f2. But you need not worry. You can easily counter this by repositioning your knight. We defend the bishop, we block the checkmate and throw a discovered check on the king. After he blocks, we take the pawn, we force the king to move, taking away his right to castle. We have an extra pawn, and if you analyze this position, white is way better in terms of king safety, pawn structure and even piece activity. The engine gives almost a 6-point advantage to this position. Anyway, let's go back and look at some more tricks in this opening. We looked at how you can completely destroy your opponent if he plays d6 in this position. What if he plays knight to g6, opening up this bishop's diagonal? This, in fact, is the best move for black. Look, he is offering to exchange knights and this knight is not defended. But here, instead of taking this knight, we can set up a cunning little trap. We play bishop to d3, attacking this knight, so if he takes this, then we take his other knight. Therefore, black can try to act a little smart here. He is anyway going to lose this knight, so he thinks, why not just take this pawn, attack the queen and rook and open up the king. Makes sense, right? Well, if he tries to be greedy and takes this, then he is gone. Let me show you how. We are not going to take this knight. Let him capture the queen if he wants. We will take this knight instead. He takes the queen, we give a check, king has to move, the other bishop jumps into action, the king is out in the open. We don't care about the queen anymore. We'll go after the big fish. Knight c4 check, king c5, the only legal move. Now simply knight to a3, defend his brother. He cannot take our bishop because then b4 is a checkmate, and if you are thinking about eliminating this pawn, then bishop to e3 is a checkmate. Black is in a hopeless position here. If he plays any other move, you simply take the queen and this knight will also fall soon, and of course, this king is completely naked, so yeah, you are absolutely winning this. Now let's say, in this position, your opponent realizes that he has made a mistake. So he does not capture the queen, instead he takes the knight, then you will just simply take the knight and you are up a full piece. That's an amazing trap, right? Alright, let's go back. Now I'll show you an interesting line from black's point of view. After knight takes, we push this pawn forward. The natural reaction is to somehow save this knight, but here's another option. Black can play bishop to c5, giving up the knight. After pawn takes, we have bishop f2 check, king moves and the bishop can go back. Although white has a slight material advantage, black has good chances of winning this, especially now that this king is exposed and he can't castle. So this is something you can try playing as black against the Ponziani. Let's check out a few more traps that white has in this opening. Instead of taking this pawn, black can straight away play d6, adding a famous line goes as d5, knight goes back, bishop g5, kind of threatening the knight to move, if he tries to be greedy and takes this pawn. Then we have this brilliant tactical idea. Queen a4 check, it's a fork and it's goodbye Mr. OK. Now what if in this position, instead of taking with the knight, black captures on d4, well, then we push this pawn forward to threaten the, again, attack with r and finally, recapture this pawn. Even though the material remains equal, I would prefer to play this as white. So even if your opponent plays smartly, you always have a slight advantage as. Okay, let's go back to the initial position of the Ponziani. Here, we saw all the traps after the most popular move, that is knight to f6. Even if he plays any other move like d6 or say bishop to c5, our plan will always be to push for the with d4. There is one exception though. If he plays d5 here, then it's best to bring out our queen to attack along this diagonal. The idea is to this pawn, pin the knight and then you can put pressure on it with moves like knight to e5, getting this bishop out. Castle on the king's side and attack with the rook along this e-file. So this is how you can set up your game depending on what black plays. Nevertheless, the Ponziani is an opening you must definitely try out, and if you enjoyed my content then comment me for more. And here's a chess puzzle for you all. It is white's turn and you need to find the best move continuation for white. Do share your answers in the comment section below. Let's see how many of you can solve this. So wish you all the best. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more. Bye bye. Take care. See you soon.